Welcome, 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 everyone. And people keep talking about it being warm. It's very cold here in Manchester. So enjoy the warmth, enjoy the warmth. Welcome, my name is Reverend Malika, and I'm a director for MNPC, a new director. And I'm here just to introduce the evening. So you're not going to hear from me much, just a little while. So this is a taster for an 8-week breathwork course. And we're going to have two facilitators, the newbie and William and Will. So I'm going to introduce them so you've got a little bit about them before we start this taster session. And I really like taster sessions because it kind of gives you a different flavour of what you're going to sign up to, instead of just reading a script and then signing up to it. So I just wanted to say that I'm really passionate about taster sessions for courses. I think they work really well. So we've got Will, known by William Flay. He's a bereavement counsellor with the emergency services. He has practiced in various Buddhist traditions for over 20 years. The founder and co-director of the Mindfulness Network for People of Colour, which is a community interest based in the UK, which aims to bring awareness of transgenerational trauma through mindfulness-based interventions. Qualified as a Breathworks mindfulness teacher, he completed a 2-year certification programme with Tara Branch and Jack Cornfield, and has studied with Daniel Four, founder of Ancestral Medicine, and David Casella, an internationally known bereavement specialist, and an 18 course with Erica McGinn, an African-centered approach to health. Also, he's a winner of the 2023 Faith and Belief Forum, Adwin Diversity, and 224. He was an attendee at the King's Garden Party this year. I'm still getting used to saying King. I still keep thinking Queen. And that's Will. We've also got Nazubia Lardner. Zanubia. Is that correct?
Yes.
Apologies. Thank you. Zanubia has been involved with meditation and mindfulness for the past 18 years, developing her practice through contact with Buddhist meditators since 2006, then training as a facilitator of movement meditation, namely ecstatic dance, with Amoda Ma Javine in 2008. Zanubia has also run workshops on mindfulness in nature and workshops on movement as meditation with others. Zanubia became an accredited Breathworks mindfulness teacher in 2021, and since then has been facilitating 6-week mindfulness for stress courses, as well as weekly mindfulness drop-ins for fellow staff at East Sussex County Council. So we've got more than 2 qualified and very well experienced facilitators that are not only going to see you through tonight as the taster, but they're also going to see you through the 8-week course if you sign up for it, and I'm hoping that you do. So I'll pass you over to Zanubia.
Welcome, everybody. We wanted to give you a little taster of some of the tools and practices that we'll be offering. And if you've never done if you've never done any of these, then this is the opportunity to start to find out what it is to sit in and become present to ourselves. However, I think I'm preaching to the converted. I think most of us have got some of these practices down, perhaps different ones, but we'll start with this one, which is a 3-minute. It's a 3-minute breathing space or 3-step breathing space. And the usefulness of it is that it can be done anywhere. So if at any point we find ourselves in some state of crisis or unexpected stress, we can go into a room, we can do it sitting in the bus, or we can do it in our car. And it's a way of coming back into our body, of reducing panic and anxiety, and becoming grounded once more, having some clarity. So I'm going to invite you all to, you may turn off your cameras for this and be in your own space, or you can stay present with us. Whatever happens after it, we would like to see all your faces again, please. So basically just being in the space that we are, having a sense of the weight of our body on the surface we're on, having a sense of the sounds or any sounds or movement in the space we're in, and getting a sense of the contact between our feet and the floor. The invitation is to close your eyes if you choose, or have them soft focus and open, whichever is most comfortable. Noticing sensation in the body, so we might notice the movement in the chest or the belly, and allow our focus to move inward into that movement. We might even want to put our hand gently on the belly, just feeling the rise and fall, or on the chest. And we're just exploring these sensations as they occur. So we might want to, as well, place our focus where we are least upset. So something like this might be used, we might be wanting to do this after an upset. So just being aware, where am I sensitive or too sensitive in my body to focus on right now? Where is the least sensitive place, the least disturbed place I can focus my attention? And once we find that, we just allow the movement of our breath and our awareness to just settle in that place, noticing sensation, resting in the touch of our feet on the floor or the hand on the belly. Noticing if thoughts are moving around in our head and being okay with that, just acknowledging and coming back to that sensation of contact with the body. Like sediment, when it has been stirred up, gradually begins to settle back into the bottom of a pool. So we might also drop into that sense of gravity supporting us. No matter what happens, the ground is always beneath our feet. So we can rest there. Gradually, we can begin to notice once more that there might be sounds coming into our space. Activity. Coming back into our notice. Just resting with those sounds. Being aware of that activity. Bringing focus once more to the weight of the body on the chair and the contact of the feet with the floor. And when we're ready, we can open our eyes, turn on our videos, back in the space. Okay, so welcome back. And I sincerely invite those who have their cameras off in their own time to come back into the space so we can see your faces and be together. Thank you. So that was the 3-step breathing space. Useful because it can be done anywhere at any time. It doesn't take much to create that space. You can even do it in the toilet. So, bathroom, whatever. Okay. So, thank you. I'm going to just this over now to Will, who has a song for us, which is going to lead into the whole theme of what the 8-week course is going to be about. And yeah, and I'm sure the song will give us some food for thought as well as yeah, be a good introduction to what we're going to be looking at. So Will, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Zenobia. I wanted to stay in the 3-minute space for a few hours. So that's absolutely divine. Thank you so much. So I'm going to start singing the little melody. Last night I heard the screaming, loud voices behind the wall. Another sleepless night for me. It won't do no good to call the police. Always come late if they come at all. Last night I heard screaming, loud voices behind the wall. Another sleepless night for me. Won't do no good to call the police. Always come late if they come at all. Last night I heard screaming, loud voices behind the wall. So good to be here. And Welcome to the first MNPC taster for the Honoring Grief 8-week course. And this is a bit of a historical moment, really. And I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the Tracy Chapman melody that I just attempted to sing. But Behind the Wall in 1988, showing how adversity and early environmental factors actually influence grief. Yeah. And sadly, decades later, here we are. And I believe the issues around knife and gun violence are worse than they were decades. And sometimes what may have worked back then may not work now in terms of how we assess our well-being and how we attend to our personal and collective grief. And so this is why we're here. This is why we developed this Honoring Grief course, and I'm really excited to be launching this today. I think we've all been so familiar, maybe overly familiar, with the effects, the long-term effects on our young people all around us with knife crime is such a concern for me and for a lot of people. Many people often asking me, why did you leave New York? I don't really often want to tell people why I left New York because two children in my family were shot um, in the 80s. And that's part of the reason why I made the decision to leave. But never did I think that London would surpass New York in knife crime. So why am I here? Why does this matter? Well, I think I was one of the lucky young people growing up in the Bronx to have discovered mindfulness. For those of us who know what a cassette tape is, so yeah, I mean, I accidentally encountered a cassette tape in the 80s and started meditating in my room, and it was I mean, New York at that point was like a war zone. But I feel that this was an invaluable tool that was really gifted to me. You know, I feel in some ways it was life-saving because what it taught me was to look inward. It taught me to respond, not to react to danger. It taught me not to be convinced by the immediacy of the oppression around me, by everything that was around me. It taught me about having the danger of having polarized views, and so it gave me the opportunity to have a more expansive view, and more importantly, control over my narrative, over my sense of belonging. It's just like quite a lot with some mindfulness practice. And I think like when I look at my counterparts, many people would have ended up in jail or dead from the neighborhood that I actually arose from. So I'm really, really lucky to be here today. And that's not even half of it, right? Um, so the reason for Breathworks, it was one of the first, it was actually a course that provided me and Zenobia an opportunity to train. And they often give people of color opportunities and bursaries to train Breathworks. Vidyamala Birch first designed Breathworks, I believe in 2001, and it has helped over 100,000 people. And I will put something in the chat around the efficacy around mindfulness for health course. There's a lot of other programs that are being offered. And the reason we picked this course, obviously because of the training with the familiarity, because I feel this is the right course for us to, and which embodies actually the grief work that we're all here to do. I think also what I have noticed over the years, now, often hosting and producing workshops and retreats, is the different levels of trauma and re-traumatization, and the need really for these spaces, particularly closed spaces for people of color. And we do process so much. And recently we added someone to the team called Taliba, who does a lot of songs in a lot of our retreats and recently at Birkbeck. And it's an amazing addition. So one size does not fit all to a lot of the challenges that we are faced with as people of color. And so we're constantly trying to innovate, to listen, to attend to all of you here in this moment, and everyone who's going to be with us in the next few weeks of these courses. I also want to take a moment to pause and just remember all of the generous ancestors, all of those people that actually contributed to who we are today, right? So let's just take a moment to actually recognize also the different types of loss, the richness, those people who stood for truth, for justice, those people who really saw something in us, you know, really encouragement, who built a sense of empowerment in us. And we know who those people are. We don't forget them, and they're always with us. Yeah. And I also want to recognize in our spaces sometimes the weakest, those without voice, those without means to get to places, to do things for whatever reason. So I do want to acknowledge there's a lot of us still with unprocessed trauma in our bodies and in our systems, you know, and this is why MNPC exists. This is why we do this work. I think a lot of us know grief all too well. You know, we're really familiar with grief. And we can talk about the systems that let us down. We can talk about this, or we can talk about the lack of availability of services. There's a wide range of traumas and narratives, but how is that really serving us, right? How is that repetitive? But actually, practicing mindfulness is a form of activism. Practicing mindfulness is a form of activism. Self-care is a absolute necessity in these troubled times. Absolutely. I think it's a responsible response to some of the challenge that we're facing. And actually, you know what? Some of us in these spaces, we're the first generation of people of color. So we're still learning how to adapt and how to fit mindfulness into our cultural richness. So it's a two-way string, two-way relationship. You know, I'm hoping that our collective energy in the work that we're doing here, the grief rituals, the grief retreat, that it ignites a sense of hope in the world that's actually really missing right now, you know? And we really need that. We really need a catalyst for hope, for positivity, for change. Yeah. Practicing mindfulness says, I take agency over my narrative. I will not add to the chaos and to the trauma. I take agency over my narrative. I take agency over my health. Yeah. I will not focus on the oppression and the brokenness. I will choose something different for myself, for my life. Just like that teenager inside me, you know, that was like, okay, I could have gone out into the streets and participated somehow in the violence, but I really practiced mindfulness really hard. I really, and I succeeded. I knew, and what my dreams were telling me, that this was not forever. This was not permanent. The poverty, the adversity, all the systems around me were going to change, and I wanted to be ready for that change. I really wanted to embrace the change. And here I am 30 years later, sitting here with you right now, telling you as a survivor of some of this violence, I don't like what's happening in these streets. You know, it's really gone too far. And I'm aware that people bring in their own grief and bereavements into this space. But right now I'm talking about a collective one, which so many people are suffering from. So mindfulness. So when we activate the healthy ingredients within our psyche, when we welcome them, then we welcome the change that I can get through this. This too will pass. All shall be well. All shall be well. This too will pass. This too, what mantras are you practicing? You know, this too will pass, you know. So for me, the practice of mindfulness was I could sit with the oppression and I could see the oppression in me, but I can choose to go there, but I didn't. Sometimes I do, but sometimes I really choose not to, and I empower myself in a very different place. But mindfulness for people of color is so vast. And for me, it really includes that which they can't disconnect us from. There is a vibration. There is something deep inside us like, oh, you can't mess with this. You know, you can't take away this. There's something that really in the human spirit that is beyond language, is beyond politics, is beyond, there's a deep knowing actually that no one can take this away. And that's my working definition, mindfulness, the whole speech. You know, my working definition of mindfulness. But mindfulness here in the current 8-week courses also teaches to be present with suffering and to change our relationship with suffering and welcome it, to be at peace with whatever happens. And that's actually a very powerful place to be. So we're living in complex times, politically, ecologically, economically, spiritually. We know actually prolonged grief a few weeks ago was the DSM-6 Diagnostic Statistical Manual was added, prolonged grief. And I was like, now you add it? You know, now you're adding it? You know, I'm like, we know prolonged grief. You know, we could write the manual, right? You know what I'm talking about. I know, to see so many smiling, you know, like we could write the manual on prolonged grief. So anyway, now they added it, you know, to prolonged grief, to, you know, to the diagnostic manual. We know the impacts of racism on our bodies, Black and brown bodies. We know the impact of othering. And let's find another way. Yeah. I see Reverend Malika, our co-directors here, looking at us. Oh, you know, always makes me, just the smile helps you heal me every time you smile. You know? So, oh my gosh, I'm taking up so much time, and I have to hand you over to Zenobia. But thank you for listening to me. And last night I heard screaming, loud voices across the wall. Another sleepless night for me. Won't do no good to call the police. Always come late if they come at all.
I think you should start singing. I mean, like a singer, like a professional singer.
Already used Zenobia. By the way, me and Zenobia were preparing for this yesterday, and we spoke for over 2 hours. We could not stop talking. We didn't prepare. We just went on talking and talking of just so much. And I'm like, oh my God, we should have invited everyone. And already used Zenobia. I don't think we have time for the other meditation, do we? So do you want to,
Um,
or do you want to do a short one?
Maybe a short one, maybe. I think I'll do a short one. And what I'll do is, what I'll invite us into is the loving kindness meditation, just the first part. So this is one that, loving kindness and kindness itself is something that can often be heard a certain way by us. We tend to think of kindness towards others quite a lot. It's much more challenging to think of kindness towards ourselves in a way that actually is, in a way that actually goes deep. We might do something nice for ourselves once in a while and in acknowledgement, but the constant practice of being kind to ourselves is a very it's a significant one. It's very important. So it's the basis as well of anything that it's the foundational basis. It's like when they say, on the plane, you take the oxygen mask first as a parent. You do that first before you turn to your children or anyone else who's in need. So that oxygen of kindness towards ourselves is key, is foundational. So I'm going to invite you once more to just turn off your cameras, be in your own space if you choose. And once more have that awareness of body, thoughts that might be moving around from what we've talked about, maybe thoughts that have nothing to do with what we've been talking about, just noticing the mind, the movement of breath in the body, just the movement of the body, all the subtle ways in which it is moving as we're sitting here. Once more, getting that connection between the feet and the floor, our foundation. So the invitation is to sit with ourselves as we would sit with a friend. And I want you, or I invite you, most importantly, I invite you to imagine yourself sitting quite simply on a bench in the sun somewhere. You might want to be cool as it's such a hot day, so just choosing your space. That bench, somewhere that is beautiful, welcoming, and you are with yourself as with a friend. And we can maybe choose a phrase. May I be well. Or another phrase that has meaning for us. We may choose an image. I like to choose the sun shining down. We may even choose a sound. Have that sun radiating its beams down on us. And myself. We can have that phrase, may I be well. love you, or I am with you. Might allow all the sounds that we hear just move through our body and around our body like a blessing. The sounds of life. And noticing sensations in the body. And noticing if there is resistance. And if there is, perhaps we can be kind with our resistance and just acknowledge, oh yes, I find it hard to go there. I find it hard to relax into being kind. And I am willing to set that intention. To bring softness and care to my existence, to my body, to my life. Sinking in a little deeper, if we can. Those rays of the sun, sound, or those words. Letting the body rise and fall, expand and subside. This moment. And this moment. And then, when we're ready, just contacting in, perhaps with the hand to the belly or the hand to the heart. Feeling the weight of the body on the chair, contact of the feet with the floor. When we're ready, we're opening our eyes and turning on our videos and coming back into the space together.
It's absolutely lovely. Thank you, Snoopy.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
So Zenobia, did we want to say something about the course?
Yes, I would like to say a little bit about the course. I want to highlight basically what we feel is foundational to the course. And foundational to the course with this subject, this theme of grief, which is so up for people of color, but I want to say for the world. And that is one of the basic things, practices in mindfulness and foundational practice in mindfulness is being able to distinguish between the immediate experience we have of life and the conditioned experience we have of life. So in the breathworks methodology and in mindfulness generally, it's referred to as the primary and the secondary experience. So primary experience is the thing that happens to us, the event. It is the immediacy of the impact on the body, the sensations we feel, the emotions that arise. So, whether it's anger or tears or panic, the beating of the heart, the sweating, because these biologically are the events that we recall and that store in the brain long term and immediately. The negative experiences. The positive ones, they come and they go and they kind of slide off. But biologically, scientists have seen that this is what happens in the brain. So when we talk about primary experience, we're usually talking about stuff that activates our survival. So primary experience are those things that when they happen, we feel them in the body. Secondary experience, that's what we make it mean. These are the stories that get built on top of that primary, and it becomes suffering. So where it was just pain, we get suffering. That's the long-term, ongoing, chronic reliving of pain, and it becomes a huge and unlimited cloth. And I believe that as human beings, each one of us, all of us come in as unique and essential beings. We come in ready to express ourselves. However, we are born into generational secondary experience. Every human being. It's just that the community, the family, the race we are born into has its own particular flavor. For us, what we are going to be exploring is how do we begin to tease apart the primary and the secondary experience to create space so that we have a view, we have a place to stand where we can put our historic experience inside in that place, but not live from inside it, not live at the effect of it. And that is not denial, that is not passivity, it is not resignation, it is not forgetting about it. It is accepting it as it has been and saying, that does not define me. However, who am I when I am not that? That's the exploration. And it's something that's a huge invitation. Nobody has the answers, but the invitation is to discover all of that together. Who are we when we are not that? I think that sums it up for me, William.
That is amazing. I want to sign up myself. That's just
Great. Good thing you're on it.
it's like I really want to attend that, like as a participant. It just sounds so good. Thank you. I mean, it's like, okay, so we start on September 15th. It's 8 consecutive Sundays, 6 to 8 p.m. I think the first one's actually 2.5 hours because it's an orientation one. There is a bit of, you can take part in interviews and research as optional because we really want to assess, as this is the first course.
Impact, yeah.
Yeah, we want to assess the impact. So there's a questionnaire of 8 questions. And we'd like people to record really their journey. We'll give you more information on that. We'll provide you a fact sheet for those who want to take part in that.
That's going to take part.
Yeah.
And also, just to say, William, are there questions? Does anybody actually have any comments or questions at this point about everything we've said, everything we've shared, everything we're proposing?
Please feel free to turn your camera on. So we've got another 5 minutes. We just want to see people,
Yeah.
wherever you are in the world, you know. I know some of you are in some beautiful places, you know.
So,
Questions and comments, please. Just feel free to unmute yourself.
I mean, one of the things I'd just like to say is, I don't know, has anybody ever sat with themselves and thought about those things? I feel sure if I have, then we all have. It's just perhaps we don't share it. We don't say, well, what if we were not having to encounter ourselves in this way over and over again?
Mm. Mm.
If not, it's at least a question to take away.
Sandra?
I've wondered in the past about this version of me having been impacted by the experiences, particularly in childhood, and there was quite a lot of trauma. And I've been curious about what would I look like if that didn't happen or if this didn't happen. So that's a question that resonates on some level.
Yes. And where we might think, oh, well, maybe that's a fantasy version of ourselves we're thinking about, I want to suggest that, no, the power of our imagination to change our lives is huge. And that's where we begin.
Okay.
So we have a question also from Ashley. Sorry, Sandra, did you have another question?
I was affirming Ashe.
Ashe.
Okay, so are the sessions going to be recorded and they will be put on the YouTube channel? Just the theoretical bit will be recorded, not the participation bit. So I mean, the one of the things around grief is confidentiality. So it is a closed group. So we want to really limit it to 12 to 15 people signing up, and it will be a closed space, a very confidential space. So it will not be recorded, what you're sharing.
Greetings, everyone. Imani here. Just wanted to say what a gift to the world the course will be, and it is. You know, when we look at everything going on right now, how much we need this. I mean, the thing resonating for me is, how is this sitting within my body? You know, as an energy healer, how's this sitting within my body as a narrative in terms of how then I communicate to the world? And when I'm communicating to the world, is that from my essence or is that from the grief, from the trauma? It's something that I do practice, this sort of self-centering, just to check in. You know, check in with me and how am I meeting the world? So thank you so much, Sanu and Will.
Beautiful. Thank you, Melanie. Yeah. These are the questions that, you know, would be so rich in how we travel it and the possibility. And because, you know, it is possible to be so invested in suffering that you think that's normal. I don't think it is. So, yeah, I don't think it is.
And I think also, you know, this is a revolutionary course. I mean, I don't think, to my knowledge, there has been in the UK a mindfulness course linking grief, not for anyone, but in particular for people of color. So it hasn't been done before. So we're the first really people to pioneer this. And we know there's a lot of collective grief from COVID, personal grief, just grief on all sorts of levels, isn't it? To process being it. Yeah. So, any more questions?
Comments? Mhm.
I'm very unlikely to be able to make the dates that you've already suggested. Will you be rerunning something maybe from November for a few weeks? I'd really like to take part in it. I also resonated very strongly when you were talking about things like, this is not denial, this is not sweeping things under the carpet, it's not forgetting. And I also suspect it won't be about not denying the navigation that we have to do. So yeah, these are things that I comprehend really well from my own background with trying to poke around with what's wrong and why do I feel so shit, and I have done for decades. And even asking the question that you just asked, are we invested in suffering? Ready to ask that question. Thank you.
Well,
Taliba, I think you were going to say something.
I was, but I wasn't sure William was going to answer.
no, please, Taliba, you go first.
No, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I was just going to say I didn't really want to come back when you invited us.
Sorry, could you turn yourself up? We can't hear you.
Oh,
Please, please.
sorry. Hang
Yes.
on. It's this just plays up. Sorry about that. Oh, can you
Okay.
come back to me because I've got a fiddle. This laptop keeps doing weird things. Sorry about that. So I'll do.
Well, I think we can give some time for you to come back to it, Taliba. I just want to, William sang a song at the beginning, and I would like to sing just a verse, really, of something. I said I would surprise you, Will. You said, are you going to have a song? I said, I'll think about it. So, and now I understand that Boris Johnson during COVID attempted to appropriate this for himself or his experience. I want to reclaim it, okay? So it's just the chorus. You gotta search for the hero inside yourself. Look for the treasures inside. Search for the hero inside yourself until you find the key to your life. That's it from me.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Oh,
Taliba, we
yeah,
can.
it's just I have to keep resetting this thing. Yeah, well, let's start with the singing. Thank you for both of the singing because that's my thing. And I heard what Reverend Malika said to William. Beautiful voice, both of you. Yeah, so when you were doing the meditation, I kind of didn't want to come back. It just felt too quick. But thank you so much for both of your offerings. I made loads of notes and I've got lots of quotes here. Yeah, but especially what am I without the trauma? That's quite a big one, and it makes me feel quite I've kind of thought of it a little bit before, but it just gives me butterflies just trying to think what that could be. So it means I'm ready to work on it. So yeah, I just wanted to say I'm really looking forward to the course. It sounds amazing. Thank you both.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Taliba. I just want to answer Manoa's question. So yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes by the end. This course will run for 8 weeks, so that will end in mid-November, and then we'll take a break and assess where we are, and hopefully offer something again in February or March. Yeah, because we also want to pace ourselves with the course and assess it as we go. Yeah, but next weekend there is a grief retreat. We do an annual grief retreat, and there'll be other things posted on our website. But thank you everyone for attending and for giving up an hour of your Sunday in this heat I know it's not hot up in Manchester, but really honored to have been here with you all, and looking forward to the course. Zenobia, do you want to close?
Well, okay, I just want to close with a blessing, really. Just, one thing I want to say about the ancestors, and I know that it's something that we touch on often, but taking on freeing ourselves also frees the ancestors. We often assume that the ancestors are doing just fine. And that, they're in a better place and all of that. I say that we are them. We are our ancestors.